Hey there. Over the past several weeks, I've had the pleasure of collaborating with Tatiana Rice and Deon to create a special t-shirt for the RoboFlow community. Today, we're going to unveil the design of the t-shirt and chat with them both about things like inspiration, the process of creating something new, what it takes to build a community, and finally, what they're excited about in the future. So stay tuned. Today, I am joined by two special guests. We have Tatiana Rice, founder of BlkArthouse. Welcome, Tatiana.
Hello.
And then we also have Deon, artist and founder of ThanksCanvas. Hey, Deon.
Hi. Hey.
So I thought I'd start off by just getting your guys' opinion on PyTorch or TensorFlow. Do you have any?
Definitely TensorFlow, right?
I mean, that's probably what most people want to hear on this channel, but
PyTorch or TensorFlow?
Yeah. There's been quite the debate going on. But yeah, so today we're not going to talk about computer vision stuff directly, but a little bit indirectly. But what we're going to chat about today is a project that the three of us have been working on for RoboFlow, and it's a special edition t-shirt that we're printing to give away to members of our community. And the design is by Deon, so that's who's joining us today, which is great. And so if you're interested in seeing the design and finding out how you can get one of the shirts yourself, you'll just have to stay tuned till the end, until we unveil the design. But yeah, before we do that, I just wanted to have a conversation with you both about being in the creative space, being creators or builders, and talking a little bit about how community plays a role in that. So with RoboFlow, one of our main missions is we want to empower people to use computer vision to take this idea and make it a reality. And we've found that some of the best ways to do that is to encourage people to take these ideas and start small and just see where they end up and then share it with other people so that you can inspire others to build and create as well. And so that's kind of the angle that we've been taking. And we really want to highlight other creators, not just in the computer vision space, but in other communities as well. And so I guess I'll start with you, Tatiana. Could you tell us a little bit about BlkArthouse and kind of what inspired you to get started?
Yeah, definitely. So you raised a good point in talking about community, and BlkArthouse is what I would call a mission-driven organization centered on empowering Black artists and providing economic opportunity for Black artists specifically. And this all came to me being a Black woman myself, wanting art in my own home that, not only reflected me and my culture, but also I was able to support somebody that looked like me. And so I tried to find something like this online as somebody who doesn't know a whole lot about art or had a previous art background. But I wanted to start collecting and did not see any kind of platform for this. There just wasn't a community built around Black artists, which kind of shocked me. So of course, everything with the Black Lives Matter movement started occurring, and George Floyd was murdered in May. And a lot of people were asking me for my input on, what are Black artists that I can support? More people were getting more invested in Black communities and wanting to support Black lives. So I basically talked to a lot of different Black artists, Black galleries, Black curators, trying to figure out what does this look like, and is this a pain point or need in the community that people want? And it seemed like it was. So put pencil to paper, was able to talk to some amazing Black artists, including Deon here, about getting involved with the organization and really creating an organization around Black artists largely. So one of the things that we're able to do, in addition to having, an online marketplace to feature Black artists, is also providing these economic opportunities like we have right now with RoboFlow to connect Black artists with companies like yours that are able to really bring his art to the forefront.
Yeah, and so you guys totally got connected through this idea, right? Like, would you have run into each other otherwise?
No, so I'm in DC. So. Yeah, and you're over in LA.
I'm in LA, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what's so amazing about this is just how people from across the country or in other countries even are getting connected now through basically because we have to with Zoom and all these other things. But
Yeah, it's awesome. So our right now we would just work with 6 artists, but they're everywhere. As you mentioned, we have one in Brazil, we have Deon in LA, we have one in Texas. Like it's all across the board.
so yeah, Deon, do you want to explain a little bit about like ThanksCanvas and some of your work and kind of how you got started into building your own thing?
Yeah. Well, I got started with Thanks Canvas because I, I've tried so hard to get into a gallery. Like I was always taught, going to art school, I was always taught that if you wanted recognition, that you needed to have your work in a gallery. You needed some form of representation, and representing yourself at the time wasn't a popular thing to do. It was almost like insane. It's like, how are you gonna do this? Um, and I tried and tried, and I just figured I would start my own gallery because I figured I could. And both of my parents are entrepreneurs, and they kind of instilled that in me. They told me like, if you want, sometimes you have to do things yourself, and they encouraged me to ask for help. They encouraged me to reach out and use my network and things. But once that is exhausted, you got to do it yourself. So I kind of took that approach, and um, so that's how it got started. But really, what I wanted to do was I wanted to help other artists um, really feel can like they have control over their work, because I did try to get into galleries a lot, and I did make it into a few galleries, and the experience there was okay. I sold some work, but the galleries took 40% of my profit, right? And I had to mark my paintings way up. So some of them sold and some of them would never sell because they were just way too expensive. So that's what Thanks Canvas is doing. It's allowing artists to have control of their margins and have a way lower overhead, um, and take from whatever they sell. So and I just want to allow artists to have a platform to sell their work and show their work and get into the groove of showing their work, selling the work, and getting a little bit of confidence. So it's really a starters platform for artists that are wanting to sell art, and it's a starters platform for millennials and young collectors. Because it takes a while to be able to start collecting large pieces and high price pieces. So everyone wants to own art, and that's really my goal, is to allow everybody to um, have art, because I think it's important. I think it changes the way that your space looks. It brightens your day. It helps you. It's a service to to you every day. So that's Thanks Canvas, and I'm just excited about it every day. I'm happy to be growing it and inviting people in, and showing and showcasing my work as well.
Yeah, I think you're seeing that in a lot of other spaces too, with like music, right? Like the record labels, like people are like, oh, I don't need a record label anymore. Like I can
Hmm.
just go and publish my music on Bandcamp or YouTube or whatever.
Yeah, yeah,
And more of the profits go to you. You get to pick how you want to be like presented and marketed, and I
yeah,
think that it's just like it's great for a consumer of art too, right? Because I just have so many more options available to me, and it's more accessible without having other people pick what I should be listening to or should have on my walls. I'm also seeing that a lot with art too. Is just people are talking about different price points more, which is really great because, yeah, it's kind of intimidating to go to a gallery and see like $1,000 painting, right? You're just like, oh, I'll never be able to do that.
yeah, yeah. And the whole experience is interesting because, for the artists don't know how to really sell art, and consumers don't really know how to consume art. They don't necessarily know what to do when they're going to purchase their first painting or whatever it may be, sculpture. Um, and they have to learn that it's there's no particular lingo for it. Maybe if you're at a Sotheby's auction house, but when you're buying from a local artist, there's no lingo, there's no rules to it. It's just you exchanging um money for art, and you're exchanging for that value that the art gives you. Um, and that's really important to know. And I want to help educate people on how to consume art. I want to help educate artists on how to sell art so that they don't feel a huge pressure, and that they don't feel that they need to maybe mark their paintings way up because the artist next to them is, selling art for, $10,000 or whatever, and also just kind of teaching artists that there's a process to it, like any other business. The art business, you have to scale it up. You have to start small, and if you're selling prints or drawings for $5, then that's what you're doing until you are able to work your way up. But you're not going to come out the gate selling paintings for $1,000. It just, it doesn't work like that anywhere. So,
Yeah.
But I think it's what stuck out to me is that you talked about price point, and that kind of leads me into my work. Like, I am focusing on recovery because I'm an artist in recovery, and I like to focus on Black people and Black culture because that's who I am. So it's really, most of my work is about growth, and it's got these flower faces, and they're kind of um, their faces are growing, right? But at the same time, their identity is not necessarily. You can't you can't tell who they are because their face is a bouquet of flowers, but you can tell that they are Black people because their hairstyles, the beards, the hairstyles, the kinds of clothing. And so that's kind of how I like to focus on that, because I'm kind of telling my story and describing myself about my growth, and how, as a, if you are a flower, if you want to be, you know, represented as a flower, flowers have cycles, and um, sometimes they don't come back, and sometimes they come back every year. It depends on how you are sowing your seeds and how you are um, pursuing your growth. Um, so that's what I really like to focus on. And I don't know. I think connecting with BlkArthouse has allowed me to kind of dive a little deeper into that, and dive a little deeper into what the next step is for me.
Yeah, and Amanda, you raise a good point in how like the internet and technology, and of course RoboFlow knows this just as well as anybody does, that these are really democratizing forces. Like they are allowing people who might not otherwise have access to a gallery, kind of like Deon talked about, or even from the collector's side. I didn't know to go into a gallery and how to talk to collectors and how to talk to, it's an exclusive world, and the tech world doesn't like that. The tech world likes meritocracy, which is how everything really should happen and occur. So that is, it's totally our purpose here and what we're trying to do, increasing awareness and reach, and really having a broader audience being exposed to talented artists like Deon here.
Well, and I think the education piece that you were talking about is really key too, right? Like if you're introducing something new to the world or to a new audience, like you that education can like really hook them in and create a long-term fan, or in our case maybe a customer or an advocate. And that's the approach that we've been taking as well, is like we're dealing with new technologies that are kind of intimidating. But once you start educating people, they start to be like, oh, what was I so worried about? Like this is
Yeah.
actually easier than I expected. Or, it's just that first step is always so intimidating. And then after you do it, you're just like, oh yeah, I'm a pro now. What's something that really intimidated you guys before starting your projects, that looking back on, you're just like, oh, well, that was easy. Like, why was I so worried about that?
Oh my goodness. Everything. I mean, you hit the nail on the head. Starting anything feels so scary because you don't feel like you're ever an expert in the area that you're pursuing. Like I talked about, I did not have a background in art. I was not an artist myself. All I knew was that there was this problem, and I think that there should have been a solution for it. But the more
that does so many things, right?
yeah, right?
That works in so many instances.
Yeah, and but, like, when I started talking to artists, and the more that you just talk to people, the more that you're like, "Oh, no, this is just a problem and a solution," you know? It doesn't need to be this exclusive and intimidating process that, you know, maybe a couple people who are in the upper class or, um, in a different socioeconomic status want to impose and say, "You can't do this." It definitely is something that anybody can do and anybody can pursue.
You know, when you are starting a project, you're always on the outside looking in. Even if it's your idea, you haven't unfolded it yet. So, um, you know, biggest boundary for me was just understanding that like I needed to I needed to start to understand where I wanted to go. So when I'm looking at other, or before I started really painting, and when I made the decision to start painting and really pursuing making art for a career, I looked at other artists and I started to look at what their themes were and who they were and what their voices were. And from the outside looking in, it almost seems like these people are just choosing these things because these things are pretty and popular. But the things that they're choosing are actually they come natural to them, and it's the things that are it's who they are in their work. So for a long time, I struggled. I just made so many random paintings because I'm trying to create something that I think is popular and something that other people like, and kind of mimicking other artists. And I'm not realizing that I just have to be me. So the more reps I put in, the more the art became me and the more natural it became to me. And I wasn't so scared about like a painting being imperfect or not coming out the way it looked in my head. It's more of like, this is just who I am, and I'm just going to continue to replicate who I am. And that was a huge boundary because as an artist, like you don't, you know, it's a very small amount of people who know who they are when they first start to create art. And it kind of just, it reveals itself. It revealed itself to me. So that was a huge boundary for me. And still, I'm still, you know, peeling back the layers. And it's like Tatiana said, it's intimidating. It's really intimidating to be, to want to move into something that is, especially the art business. It's growing up. It's like, you know, it's not the practical track. You know, it's not the track that, you know, it's not like being a doctor or a lawyer. You know, it's kind of like a crapshoot in people's minds. It's really just a business, but the way it has always been presented and explained is like, are you sure you're going to be able to do that? Is that sustainable kind of thing? So that boundary was a huge one to get over.
Yeah, I think that conversation needs to change with children, especially because I remember I wanted to be like a cartoonist. Like I loved cartoons. I loved to doodle those. And like I remember one of my classmates who was my age was still just like, oh, that's not going to help the world. And then looking at it, you're like, what? Like Calvin and Hobbes and Garfield, you know, like there's so many like Warner Brothers, like all these, you know, like Animaniacs just got rebooted. Like, I mean, all these things like bring so much delight to people and myself included. And I was just like, you can change the world. Like that is such a just like sad way of looking at things. So
yeah. And especially with Black artists. I mean, we did a webinar not too long ago, and one of our artists, her name is Diane, and she's a little bit older. And she started doing comic book characters when she was younger, because there just wasn't any comic book characters that looked like her. And that was important to her. And so she was able to share that and see somebody that represented her as this powerful character. And representation is just so important.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
So I think, are we ready to unveil the design? I have it here.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
And then Deon, we'll have you kind of just talk through how you landed with this design. So
Okay.
Here it is. The
Yes.
RoboFlow raccoon.
Yes. Lenny.
So I love this. I really loved this project, and I loved being able to create this. And I think I racked my brain for hours and hours before I was able to come up with the right idea. And I looked around on the RoboFlow website and I'm reading everything, and I'm like, I see what's going on here, but like I'm not sure how to depict that. But Amanda, you really helped me a lot by kind of telling me your opinion. And I'd always been a fan of the flowers, so I'm just, I think it's the flower face is my thing because there's growth in everything. I'm obsessed with growth. I'm obsessed with, physical, spiritual growth, but also like company growth. It could be, it's just a universal symbol, right? But this design is really uh, based around the computer vision. It kind of looks like pixels or how a computer would see, right? And it's also in this little square, which I don't know. I grew up. I went to photography school, and that's kind of how I learned to see. I learned to see through a little rectangle, and I was taught that if it's in the frame, people are going to assume that it's purposely there. So that's kind of how I always picture things. I always am looking at things through a rectangle on a canvas or through a camera lens. I'm kind of picturing it that way. But it just so happened that computer vision kind of works this way, right? It has these kind of facial recognition squares. So that's really what's going on here. It's the RoboFlow mascot, Lenny, inside of the square. It's kind of representing the computer vision, and the scribblies are just a representation of how a computer would see. And it's just a fun design. It's like he's given up two peace signs. It's just fun. It's just a fun little raccoon. I don't know. I love it.
Where did you get the peace sign thing? That was one thing that I was always curious about. Like, was that just like, all right, this is how I'm drawing this guy?
I don't know. I think it's because you told me that you wanted like a rock band T-shirt.
Oh yeah.
So I think like I was kind of going for like like a rock thing, but I didn't want to go there. But I don't know. I think it's cool. I think it's just like, it's kind of like, I don't know. I picture, if you were to see his whole body, I picture him doing like the touchdown dance where he's like, I don't know. But it's just it's a fun design, and it's cool. It's universal, and I think it's just cool.
Yeah, I think
I don't
this
know.
is like exactly what we were looking for. And Deon, you touched on it a little bit. Is I was like, okay, we want a raccoon. Like our company has this unofficial official mascot, Lenny the raccoon, and then mixing like the flowers from your work. Like that was what really stood out to me. I loved all the pieces where you had taken this, somewhat clear object or person, made them slightly abstract, and then filled in with the flowers. And I just loved how like smooth that was to transition into the flowers. And then yeah, the scribbles are great because it makes it feel very organic. It doesn't feel super clean, which with technology, like a lot of times we want things to feel like clean and like edgy and stuff like that. And I think what's great is this just feels very analog, like you can tell it's like hand drawn, and just it still works with like you said, the bounding boxes for computer vision, and then this idea that we have a lot of people trying to solve problems for detecting raccoons in their backyard. I think all these things really came together, and I'm just so happy with the end result.
I love it. I think it's I don't know. I had a lot of fun with it, and I've always been drawn to that organic style. When I first started painting, I used to make these really clean paintings, and I wanted to make them look digital because that was just fascinating to me. But as I started to create more and more, I'm drawn to that because it feels very human. And I think that's kind of like the tie-in, right? It's like you have a computer doing something that is trying to replicate you're trying to replicate a human activity. And
And most of the time, it never feels quite right, right?
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, it's not right, but you know what's going on, so it's cool. It's cool. I can't really explain it, but
So yeah, so what we're gonna do with these t-shirts is we're gonna randomly pick 10 people who share this video or the blog post that we'll be dropping this video into. We're gonna give away 10 of these t-shirts to just random people. And then the other thing that we're gonna do is if anyone's out there who's working on a computer vision problem and they wanna share their work on our blog, we'll be giving these t-shirts out to those as well. So if you've been on the fence, as Deon and Tatiana had said, it's a little scary, but it's good to share your work because you'll usually be pretty happy that you did. You'll get good feedback, and it encourages you to keep building more. But yeah, and you'll get one of these sweet T-shirts too if you get featured on our blog. So yeah, if you are interested in that, you can reach out to us at hello@roboflow.ai. And we'll start asking you some questions and hopefully get your work up on our blog. So the last thing I want to chat with you guys about is the future. With computer vision and RoboFlow, we talk about the future a lot and like what this technology can do, and we're always kind of looking ahead, trying to predict things that are almost unpredictable. But for you, both of you, what's coming up next? What are you looking forward to?
I want to expand ThanksCanvas. I want to just get as many artists as I can on the platform in a comfortable way. And, I'm not, I just want them to have a place to be, and I want them to have a starter. I really want to ramp it up in 2021 so that they have a website that they can link in their bio. They have somewhere that they can work out of until they get their own website, until they feel comfortable enough to, move on and do their own thing, because that's what I really want it to be. And for me personally, I'm going to be telling more stories and digging deeper into my experience with my art, more personal art. I'm still going to be doing some flower face things, but I'm going to be really telling the story of my upbringing and kind of who I am. I think this whole situation, this whole 2020 has kind of pushed me into really recognizing who I am. And it sounds so crazy. I'm 28. I'm going to be 29 on December 18th. And like, I'm seriously really just recognizing like, oh my gosh, this is like, I'm really becoming who I am. And I'm understanding that maybe I was behaving a little differently out of what other people told me. So that's what's next. It's going to be epic. I'm excited to start working on these things and showing everybody what I'm doing.
And so where can we find everything? ThanksCanvas.com?
You can find it on ThanksCanvas.com. I'm going to be dropping some paintings on there, and we're going to be seeing a lot more new artists, and also the ThanksCanvas Instagram page. Follow ThanksCanvas on Instagram. There's going to be featured artists every Wednesday, and there's going to be new artwork every Monday starting 2021. So yeah,
awesome.
That's what we'll
that
be.
Is so exciting.
Yeah.
What about you, Tatiana?
Yeah, and so for BlkArthouse, we have probably two main things that we're looking forward to, with the intentional goal of having BlkArthouse be the or not the sole place, but like a central place to find art inspired by Black culture, and being able to continue to providing these economic opportunities for Black artists. So we have our exhibition coming up, our very first one that is going to be virtual, featuring original artwork by 6 of our Black artists, including Deon. So that's going to be really exciting. I've been getting some of the artwork in, and it's really cool to see all of them together and all on the walls. Really fun. So that launches this Friday. I don't know when this is going to be posted, but this Friday is November 27th. So if
the day after Thanksgiving, Black Friday.
Yeah, exactly.
It's fitting, right?
Yeah, it is. So that'll be going until December 18th. We actually have already had a piece sold pre-market, so people are really excited for this, including this artwork that is right there.
Nice.
Yeah, and so the second part of what we're doing right now is we are crowdfunding because we want for 2021 to be able to become more of an open access platform for more Black artists to be able to submit their work, and for a broader audience to be able to see some of the really great artwork by Black artists all around the country and all around the world. So, working on that, working with a couple technical volunteers since I am not technical, but appreciate the work that they can do in putting that together. So that's what's coming up for Black Art House. You can find us at blkarthouse.com, spelled BLK arthouse.com, or follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Black Art House. So appreciate being here, Amanda.
Yeah, I am.
Yeah, thank you.
2021 sounds so great for you guys, and I'm so excited. And yeah, I think seeing the heart that you put into everything, it'll just continue to grow, and I'm excited to watch everything scale. Hey, thanks for joining us. If you enjoyed this conversation, please consider liking the video or subscribing to our channel. And if you'd like to learn more about RoboFlow, visit roboflow.com.